Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. Welcome to... Yo, Rudy Gobert is bad at basketball, man. Okay. I'm sorry. He's not bad at basketball, but he definitely is the definition of once you hit that age of 30, like, if you don't have the skills and fundamentals on the court, then you can no longer get on just based off of, like, your body and everything, right, man? So, like, Rudy Gobert traded for a ridiculous haul, obviously, in the offseason, and the T-Wolves don't look any better for him, man. He kind of reminds me of, like, DeAndre Jordan. Like, DeAndre Jordan, good serviceable basketball player, like, defensive player of the year and stuff like that, and got to the point where, yeah, he still had room on, like, an NBA roster, but he just wasn't the same player because he was so athletic-based. Same thing with Dwight Howard, man. I don't know. It's just how I kind of look at it, and you look at, like, Tim Duncan, who's the prime example of just how long you can have an NBA career if you do master the skills and fundamentals. Let's check this out, man, see why the Rudy Gobert experiment isn't working. Video by Thinking Basketball. Let's get it, man.
In an era with more shooting than ever, where teams play lineups without any big men, the Minnesota Timberwolves have built their team around two
big men.
Centers. They traded 5 players and a treasure chest of picks for the sartorial...
Yo, my bitch ass is laughing, but we literally had Josh Smith at small forward a few years ago in Detroit, man. We had Greg Monroe at the 4, so I can't laugh too much, man.
Gobert, a defensive specialist, to pair with Karl Anthony Towns, an offensive specialist. And after winning 46 games last year, the Wolves have been about a 500 team this season, with just an average defense.
3-game losing streak right now.
That might surprise you because Minnesota had a slightly above average defense last year before Gobert.
Good block.
And Rudy almost single-handedly turned Utah into a top 5 defensive unit every season. So why hasn't that happened in Minnesota?
He is now Hassan Whiteside.
We've discussed the playoff limitations of Gobert's style in the last few years on this channel, where switch hunting and tons of three-point shooting can limit Rudy's rim-protecting value. But that actually hasn't been the problem. When Gobert defends the pick and roll, the Wolves have a mind-boggling 85 defensive rating this year.
See, you gotta think about it like this too. Like Rudy Gobert, he can block some damn shots, right? Like, who is the leader in the NBA? Well, I guess maybe that's a bad example, because I think who's leading the NBA in steals is OG. I know OG was kind of killing it there. But, okay, let's just say, like, DeAnthony Melton. Like, DeAnthony Melton can, like, steal the basketball. That's cool, man. But in the end of the day, it's just, like, one thing. Like, Rudy Gobert can block the basketball. It's just kind of one thing. Like, I don't know, it makes a difference, but it ain't worth no damn multiple first-round draft picks.
His lowest since 2015. They've been even better when he's in his preferred drop coverage, sagging back into the paint like this. So this part of the experiment has translated well. Gobert typically guards a non-shooter, so he can stay
not a lot of those these days.
Well, Towns takes the biggest remaining player, and they switch this one to keep Rudy closer to the basket. Towns can defend a non-threat out there, so the play just fizzles into a side pick and roll where Gobert is at his best, walling off the paint, and that ends up in a low percentage shot. It's common today for
a chucking that up. What up with that?
to be part of the pick and roll, and the Wolves will switch perimeter defenders while keeping Gobert dropped back. And Jaden McDaniels does a good job of pushing the shooter inside the three-point line for a mediocre long 2. McDaniels has been excellent as a point-of-attack defender this season, navigating screens well.
Yeah, he was supposed to be most improved player, I was hearing.
And that screen navigation
in the offseason
with Gobert, because Rudy's sagged back. McDaniels needs to stay connected to the shooters so they can't walk into their shooting pocket for a pull-up 3, and then he uses the length to disrupt it from behind. This one's against a bigger, stronger LeBron James, and he's glued to him around the pick, then stays with a few bumps to contest it well at the rim. So McDaniels is already a really good on-ball defender. Check out the slide toward the ball, then the closeout to the shooter, and he swivels his hips like a top to stay with the Ja Morant drive. And
yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it seems like the type of center we know and love, like, that just isn't gonna work anymore. I don't know, like, it just seems like a lot more sense to have somebody like Jerry Vanderbilt, who has the switchability factor to him, just play center, and being able to, like, you ain't gonna have, like, mismatches and stuff like that. It It just seems like that's where the NBA is going, unless you're somebody like a Jokic or an Embiid who has just all those skills factors. Like, you got to have skill at center. If not, you got to be able to have good movement, and that's just how it has to be.
That is insane. Meanwhile, Anthony Edwards also has the physical tools to pressure the point of attack.
Ain't no more
like
making the damn high school basketball team because you damn 7 foot. Like,
consistent in this area.
Better learn to dribble.
Stuck on this one a little, and that makes Gobert
like a salty,
vulnerable to pull up 3-point shooters. Remember, last year with Towns at center, Minnesota did not play a drop, instead bringing Cat to the level of the screen to momentarily double and contain the ball. That meant the other 3 defenders had to scramble behind him and coordinate their rotations until he recovered back into the play. This year, it's the old scheme when Gobert's on the bench, with Towns coming out high to meet the ball, then defenders rotating while he recovers back into position.
Better bust
but
that.
With Gobert off the court, that defensive scheme has been a touch weaker this season with a newcomer like Kyle Anderson, aptly nicknamed Slow Mo, compared to the rangy Jared.
And let's not go out here and say too, like Cat. I feel like Cat was getting better defensively and stuff. Like, he wasn't as much liability, but he's still like a clunky ass at power forward too. Like, that's that's going to be addition by subtraction right there.
Vanderbilt, who was a perfect partner,
or subtraction by addition. Little
multiplication,
division.
Some of this is also just Cat struggling with his focus at times. He realizes his man isn't setting a screen, so he follows him into the corner, but stops looking at the play for a while and misses his rotation. And these scrambling rotations are trickier with 2 centers out there. So Towns jumps out on the ball handler, Gobert rotates out to his man, and they do a pretty good job of recovering on this one. But with less speed on the floor, errors compound. McDaniels has a brief lapse ball watching, and it's not like Gobert is looking to sprint out to make that next rotation to a shooter.
Sohan has to stop. Oh, dang,
Take a play like this one, where D'Angelo Russell gets stuck on a screen or moving screen or whatever that is. Gobert switches onto a wing, so Chris Paul says to bring Rudy back into the pick and roll again, and now Gobert's in his drop trying to keep the ball and his man in front of him. Russell's pushing Paul downhill.
Yo, put the damn hands up. Have you ever seen Coach Carter?
He just stops and forgets
put your hands
about
up.
Paul, and it's hard for Towns to slide over and help because he's not that agile. You might think these big men struggle switching onto smaller, quicker players, but they've actually been just fine in that department. Cat hangs with Devin Booker until Gobert comes over to alter the shot.
D-Book will hang 50 on him, though.
The bigger issue they have in these spots is they can't play the same coverages. Cat switches more when Gobert is behind him, and this is a nice play that exposes
Cat
Gobert
looks exhausted. He looks exhausted.
On this one, Towns switches the first screen, then they put both centers in the pick and roll, and Rudy can't really sag way off because it's hard for Cat to chase a guard around a screen. So he lingers up top, and they'll probably live with a long 3 there. All these different coverages can lead to miscommunications. This should just be a guard-to-guard switch, but Bryn Forbes gets his wires crossed, so Gobert has to slide down and then make an impossible rotation to the corner just to avoid the 3.
What a pass.
But that opens up a drive with no shot blocker in the paint. This happened multiple times in an early season game against Utah, where again, Anthony Edwards should be switching this. Maybe he thinks the big man is going to hedge out toward the ball, but that's not Gobert's coverage, and it's just a brain cramp from Ant and a huge 3 in the corner. This is part of Edwards' inconsistency on this end of the floor, where he can have really strong possessions like this.
Utah's going to become a damn dynasty getting all these damn number 1 picks now.
Around screens, but then have lapses in awareness that are crucial. If Towns is out high on the other side of the screen, Ant cannot let Drew Holiday cross back left because there's no one there to meet him, and that just turns into a total defensive disaster. And this happens a little too much for my liking. There's no reason at all to angle his body like this with Towns in his usual coverage, unless Edwards forgot the coverage or there was a major miscommunication between them, and those errors often lead to layups. These communication
we got Larry Bird out there too, though.
In transition, Gobert is calling out players and says, someone pick up the wing, but neither Cat nor McDaniels get the memo, and it's a wide open three.
It's because they all got damn, you got damn centers, they have power forwards, you got damn power forwards playing a small forward, you got all sorts of just like, I don't know, like positionless basketball. It only works if you got like the skill set to play at those positions. I just don't see it with this team.
Frustration here.
I do like Anthony Edwards,
could just
though.
Be both
I'll take him in Detroit.
Gobert being accustomed to sprinting to the paint like centers. It's a similar story here. This is off a make.
Imagine if Rudy could shoot like Kelly.
And big man Naz Reid are
be the
in
perfect
paint.
NBA player.
Two guards pick up
Victor
Giannis,
Wembanyama.
and Rudy thinks, I'm the backstop here. But Naz apparently thinks that Rudy's going to chase this cutting big man out to the three-point
And on my ass staying in the paint.
The Wolves have actually held up okay
damn.
statistically, but another component of these double big lineups is their speed, or lack thereof. Russell is a slow-footed guard, and you can see on a play like this with him, Gobert, and Towns all out there, how Utah is just faster down the floor, leading to easy offense. When the Wolves swap out Russell or either of their starting big men, they're actually quite quick to jump the ball and then scramble behind the play in unison. Here's their pick and roll coverage with Towns.
Yo, when is Eric Gordon going to get traded?
The ball is a touch slow, turning and recovering, so Taurean Prince hangs out in the paint for way too long. Well, Cat gets back.
Pop that.
And no one ever rotates to the corner.
Bam.
Ugh. Compare that to Naz Reid in the same coverage, and notice he's already starting to recover after he feels the ball is contained and McDaniels has recovered. So now the backside helper is itching to rotate, and he flies to the corner on the pass and completely resets the play. The Wolves actually give up the most wide open threes per game right now, per second spectrum, and they're also near the bottom of the league in defensive rebounding percentage, both symptoms of rotational breakdowns upstream in a possession. But even with all that said, they're still in the 80th percentile in defensive rating with Gobert on the court.
That's got to be bad, right?
Shore up some of these communication.
Yeah, 80% is like a B minus. So it got me through college.
With experience. Their bigger issue is probably the fit with Towns, because he and Rudy are both one-way centers. Someone like Jared Vanderbilt probably protected Cat's weaknesses more than Gobert does, and Cat's offensive strengths don't really optimize Rudy on that end. So yes, Minnesota can improve, but I think for this group to really level up, they'll probably need a schematic adjustment like last year's Celtics. They were able to keep Rob Williams closer to the hoop, but in this case, Cat doesn't have Al Horford's versatility on the outside. On the offensive end, Russell has also been in a shooting slump, so there's reason to believe
he's been in a shooting slump since the Brooklyn Net days.
Either way, Minnesota's big bet here is that Gobert gives them an elite defense or keeps their defense afloat around offensive talent like Cat and Russell. But a month into the season, neither of those outcomes has really panned out. We're producing a...
All right, guys, that's all we got for this video here, man. This is definitely a good breakdown right here. I don't know. I just felt like I woke up and I chose violence when it comes to the damn Rudy Gobert, bro. So that's all we got for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Peace out, my friends.